Maria Theresa, the Austrian Empress, brought about change not with the sword, but with the pen. It was her drastic change in administrative processes that led to a more secure economy for her empire, and thus directly impacted the size of her army and borders. She was known as generous, courageous, and giving. Peace begins with a smile. Maria Theresa was never in fact crowned Empress to start with. She was the Archduchess of Austria and the Queen of Hungary in Bohemia, the only female head of state in the House of Habsburg. When Maria Theresa took the throne of Austria in 1740, she was only 23 years old. She oversaw the Habsburg kingdom alone, even though Francis I, her husband, was the actual legitimate ruler. Maria Theresa received the title of Empress, fitting for the spouse of an emperor, when her husband was elevated to the position of Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire in 1745. The only female monarch in the House of Habsburg history, played a crucial role during the period of enlightened absolutism, which acted as a forerunner to the Enlightenment and saw European monarchs place an increasing value on rationalism and support for human rights. Maria Theresa was painted more frequently than any other woman of her era, which had nothing to do with just her position of authority. Her contemporaries thought she was a highly attractive woman, particularly when she was young. As reported by a Prussian diplomat at the Vienna court, she had a round face, somewhat reddish blonde hair, huge, vibrant light blue eyes, and an enthusiastic attitude. The marriage of Maria Theresa and Francis I, however, was unaffected by this. Their union was intended to ensure a balance of power across the board in European politics. Due to the groom's extended residence at the Vienna court, they were already quite familiar with one another when they married in 1736. They had 16 children together, and not only valued one another, but also had a strong affection for one another. Francis I was rumored to have had multiple indiscretions, but the marriage was nevertheless regarded as blissful. After 29 years of marriage, the emperor passed away suddenly in 1765, and Maria Theresa wrote, "I lost a husband, a friend, the single object of my devotion." She looked after her 5 sons and her 11 daughters, who received a rigorous and in-depth education. Only 10 of the 16 children survived to adulthood, including Marie Antoinette, the future wife of King Louis XVI of France, 2 future emperors, a Cologne elector, and others. Shortly after Maria Theresa succeeded to the throne in 1740, other European kings began asserting their claim to certain territories. This was Maria Theresa's first significant challenge. Frederick II, the King of Prussia, was one of them. He was the one who started the Silesian Wars, which led to the War of the Austrian Succession. Maria Theresa had permanently lost Silesia by the time it was over in 1748. The duchies of Parma and Piacenza were also taken away from her. All other areas of the Habsburg Empire were, however, kept by her. By stepping up in difficult circumstances, Maria Theresa earned a lot of respect. Her greatest adversary was still King Frederick II of Prussia. She thought of him as a monster and miserable king. It's very possible that Maria Theresa, who began referring to herself as the Roman Empress in 1745, had an unspoken admiration for the Prussian ruler. She did, after all, implement long-lasting changes that mirrored those enacted in Prussia, which were influenced to some extent by the spirit of enlightened absolutism. She established a high court, overhauled the military and the judiciary, and doubled the strength of the army. In order to implement compulsory schooling and standardized weights and measurements, she also established new organizations inside the educational system. The Burg Theater and Stock Market, or Bourse, were constructed, and Vienna's capital city received a makeover. The streets were paved, and the Schönbrunn Palace, which was formerly a hunting lodge, was expanded and turned into a notable monument. It was adopted as Maria Theresa's preferred palace. The Habsburg monarchy was brought together under Maria Theresa, who was regarded as one of its most capable rulers. Maria Theresa was a significant figure in the power politics of 18th century Europe. But as with the military leaders in the past, it's not with military prowess, but rather structural reform. She created a solid foundation for which the economy of her empire could flourish, giving her citizens wealth and comforts. This directly led to higher levels of education and a stronger military force. It was her focus on strengthening within before looking out that saw her as one of the most successful rulers of her lineage. This focus on foundations is a key factor for success in today's world. Whatever it is that we start out to do, without mastering the basics, the foundation, we will surely falter later on in the journey. Take note from Maria Theresa's achievements, learn how she accomplished them, and you too will undoubtedly find success.